Welcome back for another episode of ADHD Her Way. Today I've got Amy Pearson with me, who is a business strategist and just an all-around genius really when it comes to marketing and business strategy. And I feel so privileged that I get the opportunity to meet with her today. She is going to share some insights for us, and especially for us and for entrepreneurial minds, this one will be something that will be of interest to you. Allied health workers is who she works with a lot. And yeah, it's just really, really nice to have you here today with me, Amy.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for that really glowing intro. I was like, oh, wow, appreciate it. Thank you.
You deserve it. It's
Thank
fine.
you.
And I also love your background, by the way. It's very eclectic.
It's very me. It's very ADHD, dopamine.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, so tell us a bit more about who you are and what you're all about.
Sure. This question I always find overwhelming because there's so much I want to say. But to really simplify it, I am a business owner. I'm a mum. Those things are pretty much the main things I'm known for these days.
Yeah.
I work currently in marketing and sales, business strategy, sort of for online business owners, mostly women, mostly mums, because they're the people that I really want to help to get a leg up. And yeah, I'm a mum of two, pregnant with my third. I'm ADHD, autistic. And yeah, there's so many more things I could say, but I think that pretty much covers the primary reasons that I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, some amazing roles there, and congrats on your third.
Thank you.
Yes, must keep you busy to be juggling quite a few things by the sounds.
I like being busy though. I think it's part of the neurodivergent, I mean, we can get into that.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us a bit more about your own ADHD journey.
Okay, so it's sort of never know where to go back to with this. So bear with me because I haven't actually done an interview about this specifically, but I've spoken about it before.
Sure.
So it's been a more recent diagnosis journey, but obviously going through the process, and I'm sure like most of your guests have spoken about this, and the process of like reflecting on your whole life, you're like, oh, actually it begins way back there, but I kind of only really know about it since becoming a mum.
Mm-hmm.
My eldest is nearly 7 and he was born, he was like a tricky baby. He was just very overstimulated, I realize now. He was a neurodivergent baby. We didn't know that at the time. I was neurodivergent. We didn't know that at the time. So the two combined, being stuck in a house, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. When my husband was, at the time, he was working full time.
Yeah, and also toddler during COVID.
Oh, yeah. And then that was exactly, yeah. And so we had him and then went into COVID. And then as I started to sort of come out of that complete postpartum depression and anxiety, which may not have happened if I'd been diagnosed before then. I got pregnant with my second during COVID. And then, it wasn't planned, but it wasn't like an accident per se. So we just were like, okay, well, we wanted another one at some point. Went into that.
With the flow.
Yep. And then it wasn't until after that I really went down the diagnosis rabbit hole. And that kind of happened through my son showing more clear ADHD traits. And my sister has 3 kids and they're all diagnosed autistic ADHD. Now, at the time, only a couple. And so it's been a bit of a family journey. We've realized that, my son has he's very smart. He was ahead in a lot of things verbally, funnily enough. But at the same time, he was, there were behavioral things and there were every time I talk about this, I think in my head, I think from the internet, I have all of the people that don't understand it going, oh, it's just kids, oh, it's just this.
Boys being boys.
And it just, I feel like I need to say, if you were me in that situation, you would understand that.
Yes.
I knew I needed to do something to help him.
That's right.
And then going
into his potential. There's a difference between a kid kind of thriving and being energetic and all of the things, but there's a difference between that and seeing a kid that is potentially struggling quite a bit.
Yeah. And so, we went to the pediatrician and initially she just said, she gave us the diagnosis stuff about ADHD first before we went into an official process. And I took it home and I was reading it with my husband and he was like, that's pretty much describing you. And I was like, I know. It's just and first we just went ADHD and it was, the 2 types. And I was like, both types very clearly 90% on one and 100% on the other. It's okay, interesting. But because I'm a female, I think it just, now I understand it from seeing all of the information, but it just wasn't as obvious. So that's kind of how I ended up being diagnosed ADHD. I ended up going and getting a diagnosis myself. and getting medicated, and it changed my life completely, made everything easier. And my psych and I have been speaking about it for a couple of years now. I've been seeing him, and it's pretty clear that I'm autistic too. I haven't paid to be officially diagnosed.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I don't really feel the need to do that. There's not a lot I need to do for that. Like, you know, you can just understand it yourself, and your family can understand you better if you know, and that's all you really need to do if you're functioning. So yeah, I think I've built my life. My psych actually said to me, it's interesting how you've built your life completely in a way that suits your neurodivergence before being diagnosed.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's bizarre. Like, you kind of just, I mean, not everybody does, I guess, but
yes.
I think it comes down
nice to get there. It's nice to be able to get to that point. And yes, there may be privilege there, but it's also been very intentional choices as well, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe
hard choices. But, you know, I think now there's so many days, and I mean, I'm pregnant now with my third. And there's so many days where I wake up and just think, imagine if I had to commute right now and like put my kids into care earlier and later and not see them. And I'm just so grateful that I've figured this out. I don't know how I did it mentally, like figured it out, but I did, you know, subconsciously. And so that's, I don't know if that sums up my journey, but like it's a brief overview of how I ended up here. And I'm in a really good place now, like knowing that's everything and being able to manage all of the things that pop up that are connected to the neurodivergence just are easier to deal with now because I understand it.
Yeah. And that's so amazing. I'm so glad to hear that you've come to a place of that acceptance and like awareness first and acceptance and having now had the ability to, well, you already, like you said, it started maybe intuitively knew that certain things were good for you and certain things were, you know, draining and had been able to shape your life. And that's what I'm all about, is be able to empower women to do that. And specifically women, many of those like are mums as well and are also entrepreneurs or business owners of some sort, or simply really serious about their careers and being able to carve that way without burning themselves out, because that is something that we hear all too often, and definitely I've fallen victim to.
Totally. You try and fit yourself into the category of like career, which I always thought I had to do. And I was just miserable, burnt out, exhausted, you know, hardworking, not getting appreciated. It was just, I could not have survived in that role. It didn't matter how much money I was making. I was just like, this is not how I want to be living. So,
absolutely. So what do you get to do now? Tell us a bit more about the way that you work with people.
Totally. So I'm in my 6th year of this business. It started when my son was born, basically. I pivoted very quickly from when I was in that career. I handed in my maternity leave, my resignation during my maternity leave with my son, because I knew, I was like, and do you know what? I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like what it takes for someone to make it. And I think actually one of the primary things that you need to make it as like someone that can function running their own business is it's almost like this grit, like this determination to just be okay with it not being an amazing result if it's going to give you the outcome that you're after, which is not working for someone else, not being told what to do. So for me, it was very risky. I think that's also the impulsive side I have, because I didn't have backup plan. I didn't have a bunch of savings. I didn't have someone I could rely on. My husband and I were never big income earners. I was, I guess, the breadwinner our whole relationship, because I went into a career. I went to uni and all of those things. And he always worked really hard, but he didn't make enough for us to survive on it. So I knew I couldn't just rely on him, even if he wanted to do that for me. So I needed to figure it out. And so I think that gave me the determination to make it work. But COVID hit and the business went under that I had at the time, which was I was a full-time photographer. I actually studied at uni a long time ago. I studied communication design and photography. And I really wanted to be a photographer. So ended up actually building up that business quite well. But as you probably know, being in Australia, in Melbourne, the lockdowns were the longest in the world and we could not do anything. There were like
super restrictive.
There was tape around the parks. Like I couldn't even take my kid to the park. It was just so
ridiculous,
isolating. So when that happened, I had a huge breakdown, because it was like I finally came out of postpartum. I finally started to feel like myself a little bit, and I had this light of like, I don't have to go back to work. I can do photos on the weekend, and my husband can work. And then it was like, you're not allowed to take photos. So all of the bookings for the next probably like year and a half that I had ahead, weddings, like a lot of money
Wow, that's
just went.
devastating. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, what on earth am I going to do now? Like
Yeah.
there's no backup. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine at the time was running a e-course, funnily enough, on in the early sort of days of that. Well, not really early days of that, to be honest, but early days in my world.
Yeah,
On
that was definitely a rise of
It
them
was
being like
like
telehealth
booming.
and e-courses
It
in
was
that time
right
in
at the cusp of
2020.
COVID, and she launched a course on building WordPress websites. And having been in design and marketing and tech my whole career, it was all of those things I was already doing. I was actually running a website at the last job that I had, but I'd
Perfect.
never considered that I could do that for other people. It just didn't
Yeah.
register in my head. And then I thought, well, if I do this, I messaged her and said, hey, do you think I should do this? And she was like, she hadn't studied design actually, but she was really good with tech.
Yeah, right.
And she's like, yes, of course you should. Just do it and see how you go. Like, you may as well just give it a go. And within the first, I think, week of being in that course, I booked my first 5K website. And I was like, what is going on? So
That's so
I
great.
pretty much convinced myself straight away, I've got this, I can do this. And yeah, my business began like that. So that was a long-winded way of saying I started a long time before I started, because I'd been running businesses my whole life on the side, left my job, started a business failed, started a new business. And so over the span of that whole decade up until I started this business, I was learning how to run businesses and manage clients and make an income and all of these things. And so it wasn't until, I'd been doing websites and I was doing branding, and at the beginning I actually still did some photo work as well. Dropped that very quickly. Then I pivoted into realizing that all of these people who I'm building these things for, they're finding it really hard to actually market them when they get launched. And it was frustrating me because I felt like I wasn't actually helping them. I was like, yeah, it looks beautiful. I can make it look really cool and all of that. But if no one can see it, what's the point? Like, it's not helping them. And so I felt like I wasn't fulfilling my service.
Following through with all of it. Yeah.
But I couldn't just do that on top because it's way more extra work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I started pivoting into helping and guiding people with that. I started an e-course as well very shortly after my business started, about giving these women the tools to do their own websites very, very briefly, not like a full-on website education, but just the things that you need to get it up and running, your brand and your marketing, so you could just start from scratch and then you could move on. And then I started doing, group programs where I would take women through looking at your offers, looking at how much you're actually charging, how much money can you make, because these were all things that I understood and a lot of people hadn't considered. I think that's sort of why I gave that backstory of, there's many businesses I didn't even mention, but I'd been running businesses for so long that this had become ingrained. I already just knew all of this stuff.
Yes, that's right.
And I didn't consider that other people don't realize these things because they haven't been through the failings and the mess. And so now, today, I call myself your honest marketing and sales strategist, because I think there's so much misconception online.
There is, yeah.
About what it is to be a successful business owner. And actually, interestingly enough, over the last couple of years, some of my main clients have been people that come to me that have a huge following. And I, at the beginning, would think, oh, I don't know if I can help them, but they're not making any money. They're not actually running a business successful. Yeah, they're just popular. And I think that's why I say the honesty part, because I've got under 10,000 followers. I don't have a huge following, but that's never been a goal, because I know that followers don't equate to a successful business. They don't equate to money. They don't really equate to much. And so I help people with, yes, marketing, because that's part of getting visible. But what happens when people see you? Once they see you and they want to follow you on Instagram, then what? Because there's a whole new area to look at if that's not actually converting,
It's a massive skill set. That's right.
Yeah. And I actually even just saying this now, I get excited about it. It's like a big puzzle for me, and I think that taps into the neurodivergent part. I love talking about it. I'll go to bed with my husband and be still talking about it at night, and he just listens, but it's one of those things. Yeah, who knows? He pretends he's listening, and that's all I do. That's what matters. But yeah, I think, that's what I do now. I want to help. The purpose underlying is, I know that I would be, in a very different situation if I hadn't have been able to have the I guess, like support or space to build my own business and do this. I just would have gone along with the status quo of what
Yeah.
people do in society. And I want to help women to get there, because I know that if they have something that they're really good at, they just need to understand what it takes and the skills, and then they can do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not a lot of help with that out there.
No, that's right. What would you say is a good first step, like in terms of maybe they kind of know some of the things they're good at, or like me personally, I can honestly say that for much of my life, I thought I was very mediocre at a lot of things and a master at none. And some may disagree with that who know me well.
I'm the same, to be honest. It's an ADHD thing. We're good at everything, but we're not like the best at anything, you know?
Potentially, yeah. Yes, I do find that, although there is some geniuses amongst us. And I mean, I do think we're one of those. Other people think that about us potentially, or see our,
That's
sometimes
right.
it's like they can reflect our strength back at us, which I think is why relationships are so important, and why some coaches and strategists or whatever therapists, what they're there for is to help you tune into that and maybe next level self. But yeah, for those who feel really, really stuck and they want to do a similar pivot, they are stuck in a career that they're not passionate about or that isn't sustainable, what would you say can do? What would you say is maybe a good first step that you often ask them about?
Well, the first thing I would say is, just sort of what people believe. I actually don't think you need to be the best at anything in order to start a successful business. I think that's why I sort of say that anybody can do it if you have the willingness and the grit to stick it out when it is difficult, because it won't be easy overnight. And I think a lot of people do assume, I'm just going to do this and it will just, because I'm so good at it, it will work out. But actually, no, it's better to be a jack of all trades in a way, because you can pick things up easily and learn the skills. But honestly, it comes down to how much do you really want the change? Like, how much do you actually really want it? Because I don't know if people consider how much changes, not just in their job, but like themselves. Like, it's actually quite an intense, like, you're the first hurdle, if you know what I mean, with starting a business. And I find that if people come to me and they haven't been able to get over the hurdle of themselves, whether that's being visible and being comfortable being visible, which is a huge thing. Like, a lot of people just give up there, which is understandable as well. I'm not shaming those people. I get it. I think it's just realizing that there are certain things that it does take. And one of them is actually the willingness to sort of go through this journey of the self, this like internal transformation, which is really not fun sometimes. Like, it's actually really hard, very isolating that's why, like you said, we need coaches, and people say scoff at business coaches, and it's like, that's okay, you can scoff at them, but also if you want to be someone that grows and you don't have anyone supporting you outside of your family and your partner, they don't understand actually what's going on. And it's a huge thing to carry. It's hard because I'm thinking of all the nuances and I'm trying not to go into every detail.
There's so many different things. But that's such a good point though. Like, it's that inner growth. And that's what I found as well. It's like, oh, okay, once I have these skills and do this course and I'll learn those skills, and I keep getting stuck almost at that same thing, like that imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. It's like, it's the first hurdle, but it doesn't go away.
No.
But you sort of move through these phases. I mean, you're a psychologist, right? You would know more than me, all of this stuff. This is something I've learned along the way. This isn't something I'm an expert at.
Yeah.
But I think through helping people, you start to put together the pieces of like, all of these types of people struggle with this. And you can see that there's actually just blocks there. There's actually just self blocks there that they're unable to see. And so, yeah, I think when you come back to the question of what's some advice you give to this person or where to start, it would be start with yourself and like figure out, what do you actually want? Are you willing to go through the difficult times to get to this idea of, a life you want to be living? Or is it easier to just be comfortable where you are? And the other thing is the purpose. I think, this gets a lot of opinions. Some of the people I admire the most in the business world are very different to me and have very different opinions about this. And I think that's why, we don't need to agree on everything. But for me, purpose, like, there has to be, I call it the North Star in the program that I have, but it has to be something outside of yourself. Yeah. Because if it's just about you and money and having a life that you like, that's great. But if it's not helping, I say people or the planet. So like something outside of yourself, it gives us a reason to get up. It gives us a reason to push through when we're not loving what's going on for ourselves, because we know that it's bigger than us.
That's right.
And I think that is actually something that's helped me really keep at this for such a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, it also helps you in things like when you do get to the selling point and you do get to the conversions and leads and all of that, you can separate the, oh, I'm being an awful person, because we have this sort of imposter syndrome of icky salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
If you're selling ethically and you have a proper strategy, you're helping people that
Yeah.
need help, and they get to say yes or no. And so if you remember that the more people you help, the better the people and the planet are, you're going to actually want to do it more.
Yeah,
I think
that's an amazing message.
those two are the things that I would be looking at. And it might not
Mm-hmm.
be exactly the same purpose now as it is in 10 years. That's okay. But you still
Yeah.
need to have something that makes you feel like you need to be doing this thing. You can better people's lives in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a beautiful way that you've put that. And I do think that, yeah, I totally agree with you. Purpose to me, and maybe it's because we value that higher than
Yeah.
some other people do, perhaps. Like it
Yep.
does maybe come down to your values. And so, yes, the people that otherwise listen to this and be like, well, I don't know about that. I don't feel that deeply about anything. Then maybe it's financial for you, or it's your family. And if that's the main thing, then what can get you closer to a wonderful family life? And that makes, but again, it's about people, really. So
yeah, exactly.
Like
it's still people. That's right. Yeah. And if you can provide like better support for your family, which I've like, that's hand in hand what I've done with my business. So that becomes part of it. But I guess sometimes I'm wary of like, it gets complicated when you're sort of thinking, I need to work for the kids.
Yeah.
But I want to be with the kids. And then it kind of becomes this whole thing. So
yes,
that whole time is like time balancing is a whole conversation in itself, I think.
Yeah.
There was another thing that just popped into my head, but it's probably gone now. It may come back to me. No, don't apologize.
Yeah.
This is just the way it is with me. It'll come back at some point if it's relevant. But yeah, I think purpose is a big one. Oh, that's what it was. So the other thing I've realized more in recent years, and I think that's, again, the stages of growth you go through in business, is I was really slogging it for a long time at the start. And I think that you kind of need to a degree. And that's why I say like, how worth it is it for you? Because you may need to do more work than you realized in the initial stages, but it can pay off if you totally like it's sort of balancing in your head. But if I wasn't doing this, what would my life look like? It's always most likely going to be worse off, right? But the other part, I think, as someone who's a creative, and I've always been in creative roles really until I stepped into this business of going, oh, I actually can be strategizing, like helping people with business. I don't need to just keep this creative only identity. It can be part of what I'm doing. And now I actually realize, I mean, it's so obvious too. It's one of those things you think, oh, well, I knew that, but now it's more obvious to me. I need to actually find time to be creative outside of my business, because a lot of people try to get their, I guess, like dopamine or like play from their business. And then it kind of complicates things because we're thinking so much about ourselves in what we're creating. And sometimes people don't want that thing, or they aren't as interested in buying it, and we put a lot of ourselves into it and try and
rejection sensitivity comes up. You're like, oh my God, what I thought I was good at or what I'm really passionate about is something that other people don't seem to like, or
exactly. And I think like it's kind of comes back to the messaging thing we spoke on earlier. I'm working with a really beautiful person at the moment who actually worked with me in another business years ago. We worked for someone else together, and she started her own business and she's killing it. And she's so good at what she does. And I know that because I've worked with her. She's a leadership coach, which I think especially women need, pardon me. But what she's struggling with is articulating how she helps people in a way that people actually can see and value that and buy that. And that is one of the biggest struggles. And that's one of the things I love to help people with. Yeah. Because I think anytime we're trying to sell something that's about the self, so confidence, nervous system reset, all of these like empowerment, all of these things. Yeah. They're actually things we do internally.
Yes,
and so
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we're trying to sell that to somebody,
how's that tangible? What
exactly. Like no one's looking for that.
Yeah.
Like, of course they want to feel more confident, but they're not looking to buy that. So the work then becomes either figuring it out on your own or working with someone to figure out, how can I actually create exactly what I'm offering in a way that is packaged so that the people that need it can see that they need it? Yeah. And that's where we need to separate like ourselves from the people that we're helping and like
Yes.
make it about them. And it's hard, but it's worth doing because it can change the game.
Yes. And especially for many of us that also work in allied health or that very much work with the topics of self-esteem or for me ADHD and trying to support women to feel more empowered and thriving and feeling more confidence. It is so tricky to translate that. I can
so hard
definitely attest to that. So it's
because the more of an expert you are, the harder it is to go back to that language of not actually being in the expert position.
I know.
Yeah. And they're two hats. There's like the expert helper hat and then there's the marketing and sales hat, and you need to kind of switch them, and it's tricky.
Yeah. And also doing that ethically for those listening who are under APRA, who also have the, registration board.
And the testimonials thing and all of that. Yeah.
All of those things. It's really, you're juggling quite a few different contingencies and it can be very stifling for someone who, if there's many ADHDers listening, or who may be already struggling with getting that messaging right, but then that person in us who feels they're quite limited by what they can say, how they can say it. Like that's what I found personally also so tricky navigating that, because you don't want to get in trouble. That's correct. Like it's yes, ethical marketing, but it's also even bigger than that. There's so many other ethics to consider other than just the marketing aspect. I'm really enjoying hearing that more and more. What can that look like? You mentioned on it briefly, like, and that might really help those who are listening be like, I feel so icky about selling and pivoting more into the sales and marketing or more in the coaching sphere. Because especially if you've been, for instance, an allied health worker and providing therapy and seeing that as a therapeutic service and something people may need, but somehow whatever else you're trying to offer is somehow harder to conceptualize as something that you feel they really need. Or maybe small business listening, or those who want to start small businesses and maybe for mothers or something, and don't see how they can sell a product that they feel like would be a nice to have, but like maybe a luxury or something. What would you say to women who are considering either starting something or having a hard time with selling their service?
Totally. Well, first thing I would say is people will always buy luxuries still. I've found that there's so much talk, especially in since COVID really, about the economy. And I mean, anywhere you go online, you'll either get one side or the other. Like the economy is failing and no one's spending money and it's hard to do everything and you can't afford to pay for your food these days. And it's true. Like, yes, it's affecting a lot of people in a lot of ways, but it's not affecting everybody in the same way. And what I realized is people are still spending money. They're just spending it on things that they really value. And so that might not necessarily be things that they desperately need, but it's something that fills some kind of spot inside of them. It makes them feel something, or it makes them feel like they are doing something for themselves. I mean, there's so many reasons why people buy things. I always use the example of Taylor Swift tickets, right? They were so expensive. Everyone still wanted to go. Everyone still bought tickets, but a lot of those same people were complaining about money. And it's like, people will buy what they want. And it's up to them to decide. And so we sort of need to just separate ourselves from the decision-making process, because that's the client's responsibility. And this is where I think ethical marketing and sales comes into it for me. We kind of have this societal view from like the snake oil salesman and all of that stuff that we've seen over the years. We just associate all selling with that. But actually everything in life is that we buy, that we need, is sales and marketing. And marketing, for example, if people don't like marketing or they feel uncomfortable, I say, well, if you've ever told someone to watch a TV show or go to a coffee shop that you like, you've marketed their business for them.
That's so true.
And it's just that we over exacerbate and complicate it, and we just think about social media. Like, people think marketing's just social media. It's not. That's a great aspect that we have for free these days. So in getting back to your question, I mean, there's two parts, I guess. One is if someone is in the allied health space and they want to, they can't see what it is that they could offer that people will actually want to spend money on, I immediately go to, okay, who do I know online, or who do I know that's big, that's selling, that's in this kind of, in these kind of spaces. And I think too, I mean, the obvious big ones like Esther Perel, right? She's a therapist. She's massive. She's massive because she's got a really strong message. She's very visible, and she's always been, she's probably got a lot of grit, but she's always been willing to just, like, a lot of people don't like her as well. And I think feel uncomfortable.
She can be divisive. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's kind of a good thing. Like if we're too airy-fairy about what we believe and we're not willing to really be like, this is how I feel about this. I'm not telling you you're wrong, but I'm telling you this is how I feel about it. People will start to pay attention.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to creating a product or an offer, most of us get stuck in what we know. So if you're in the allied health space and you're used to one-to-one therapy or couples therapy, and that's the only real product or offer you've had before, you would immediately go, I'm going to do that online from home. And then everything will be solved. But you'll get a time cap. You'll have to spend a lot of your working hours doing things that aren't one-to-one work. So the marketing, the sales, the admin, all of that shit. And very quickly you go, oh, actually, I'm not making the money I assumed I would make.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to realizing that there's probably a type of person that you have had the best results with. And for you, maybe it's like women with ADHD, for example. And then you could probably go more niche. And so I think the way my brain works with business is there's types of offers that we can have. If we're just thinking online, I mean, I work with digital businesses primarily. You can do one-to-one or one-to-many or DIY. And essentially that means you're working one-to-one with a person. It could be like face-to-face the whole time, or voice memos or whatever. It could be one-to-many where, you know, it's you and a group and they're all together, or it could be you give them something and they do it in their own time. There's so many other sort of variations we could go into, but I'll just leave that. And then it's like, I guess there's strategizing for your business in a way that makes enough money. So it's like, how much time have I got in the year realistically? How much money do I need to make? How much money do I want to make? The reverse engineering goals, which I do with everyone. And then the person that you want to work with, it's deep diving on, how can I give them something that I know that all of these clients have needed, that I can help? Maybe you're like repeatedly teaching someone something every time you have a call with these types of people, and you know that they need, or they say to you, my God, you helped me so much with XYZ. I didn't even realize, like, you know, there's sort of things that come up, and there's ways that we can analyze what we've done with people in the past and the best results and the best experiences, and then create small things. I think another issue is people generally come to me either after having done this or in the process of starting their first digital product, and it will be a download of everything they know.
Yeah.
Because they want to give someone all of their knowledge and insights, but no one wants that. No one's interested in that. So it's actually about getting niche and micro about it and going, well, ADHD women, okay, this is just completely made up and it's not necessarily for a psychologist. But I'm drinking a coffee and I'm thinking, you know, it might not be called how to. I'd have to work on the messaging a bit longer.
It's fine. You're on the spot. It's okay.
Yeah, like getting ADHD women out of the habit of drinking coffee to keep them sustained throughout the day every day, for example.
Yeah.
And so it could be like they need energy, but they find that they're relying on coffee, then they can't sleep. And, you know, so we're going into a really tiny little niche topic here. It needs work. I'm not going to sell it like that, but I'm sort of showing you the breadth of what's available. There's actually so many opportunities. And I think if anyone has expertise in any area, there would be so many things that you could offer or do that would easily make money. And it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. It doesn't have to be $5. It could be anywhere in the price range that you want to make it. But if you can get the messaging across in a way that speaks to their desires and their pain in a way that you see that they have this issue and you know how to help them to get to the desired point, it will sell. And I think the ethical side for me is like, as long as you're actually going to give them that, like, you know, the promise needs to be something that's realistic to their outcome. You can't just say, oh, well, don't drink coffee. That's all I'm going to tell, you know, like you need to actually follow up. And that's part of where the ethical thing comes in. But also you're giving them the opportunity to say yes or no. And if you create strong messaging and a strong sales page and a strong funnel and a system or whatever it is, that person will very clearly make a decision at the end of looking at that stuff. And if you've done it well for that ideal client, they'll say yes, you know. So that's pretty much, does that answer the question, do you think? Okay. Good, okay. Because I'm like, I don't know how clearly I've answered that question, but
No, that was such a great
my
explanation, and I
brain kind of
think
goes all over, you know?
no, that's. I think you've really narrowed in some really clear points. What you already landed on was how to basically get your messaging right and how to market ethically. And by the sound, something of a similar vein is who then your ideal client is who you most enjoy working with, or
And who needs what you have, yeah,
who
to
needs what you
offer.
have.
And you feel
That's
good
correct.
helping them, you know? It's like sometimes it might not be the person that you want to spend, you know, your time with outside of work. It needs to be
Yeah.
someone that actually wants to pay money for this, but it needs to be someone you can feel good about helping.
Yes. Yeah, that's
One
right.
quick note that I want to say about the offer thing is just in case people take this information and then go, that didn't work. The whole process of business and like moving forwards with this stuff is it will fail sometimes, but that's part of the process. And I actually don't call it failing personally. I just
That's
call it
right. Yeah.
part of, yeah. And so, for example, and I know I've been talking about this for a while, so I'll be very quick. I've worked with an incredible one of my sort of clients that I worked with for a while. She's a counselor, and she wanted to start a group program, and she has such incredible expertise, and I know she would help people so well. But what we've found pretty quickly was not a lot of people wanted a group program for that type of offering. So this is another element. Sometimes it's experimenting with things before you create the offer. Because if you create the offer based on what you want to do and what you assume, it's not necessarily going to work. So there's things we would do to like test things out with your audience and trial things to see what's actually the most magnetic or compelling for your audience before you pour everything into something that may not actually sell. Yeah.
Yes, that's another good point, because we do get told that all these group programs and masterminds are the way to go, and that may not necessarily be the exact fit for you. Also, if you want to try and make something fit, like only being online or only doing things in person, however way it's sold to you, that for you perhaps isn't sustainable. For you, you may not feel benefited by running only mastermind or whatever, if it means that you feel actually your expertise are best in setting up systems and be able to sell Excel spreadsheets or something. If you have a genius idea around that, and that just really it's very like maybe tapping into your like organizational and spreadsheeting abilities, maybe creating like a really great resource is something that sells amazingly, or writing a book and it's exactly what the people are looking for. And you're not a program runner. Like I know that, like I think
Yeah.
Dr. Rebecca Ray, I heard she spoke on the podcast about this, and she said, I was so drained by running group programs, and I found
They are
things
a lot of
actually.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I do think it's really important for us to point out, I don't disagree that there's many benefits on that scaling of capacity, and that you can turn these people into VIP clients. You may end up working like high paying clients one-on-one. Like there certainly is advantages, but yeah, that kind of model may not be the right fit right now. Or that might be something that can become helpful at some stage. But yeah, I do think that can otherwise also leave people feeling really disillusioned by how easy and quick it is. And yes, there's a lot that goes into what you said, that messaging and getting that right. The amount of times that others on that talk about like creating a program for anxiety or something, or creating a program for this, and it's so general that it's just no one feels spoken to.
Yeah, when it comes to that, what you're saying about the programs and it doesn't suit everyone, I'm fully of the opinion that every business is different. Every person is different. I think that's one of the things that separates me a little bit is a lot of people that do similar work to me, they have a framework, which I have frameworks, but they're very rigid with you do this and then this and then this and then this and then that's it. And it's like, well, if you can't sustain creating a group program and running that, that's not going to work for you. So you need to be talking to someone that can give you other alternatives and actually figure out what fits in your life and your mental health and your ideal clients and all of those things, right? It's complicated, but it's a big experiment too. That's what
That's
I think
right.
business is. Yeah.
And I think the people who are very successful are those that do pivot and do see things as experiments and are open to feedback and do change and don't just stay in their ways, and comes so convicted about what they are here to do. And yeah, there is a part of that having to just really stay strong in your own lane.
Yeah.
But there's so much support and leveraging other business owners or people to kind of turn to for support, or to bring each other up along the way.
Yeah,
You
like
know, there's
support
ways.
other people and they will support you. Like, I say that about marketing to my clients all the time. I say, like, if they're like, I'm not getting any comments, I'm like, yeah, but are you making an effort on other people's posts? Because it doesn't start by you being spoken to. You need to actually be the voice first. And then I think then you'll find your people and you'll get a community around you eventually. And, putting in the effort to other people will help other people put in the effort to you. And yeah, at some point you'll realize, oh, I have this community of incredible women online, if it's women, who are supporting me that may not be in my industry, but it makes it easier to sort of forge ahead. And I think that's a huge benefit if you have people around you that are, either in the same sort of situation or not, but who are willing to like see the effort you're putting in and support you. It's a really important part.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I've got so many. Do you know what's funny? My partner and I came up with this concept recently because I'm always, like I said to you earlier, at the end of the day, I'll be like ranting and raving about things in the business. And he'll be like, I wish I got that on film, because as an ADHD, my meds wear off at the end of the day. And I'm much more, I guess, unhinged in the way that my language comes out. And I'm not really like, I don't know how to explain it, what's going on psychologically, but I know that I'm a different version. It's still me, but I'm just much more like, impulsive. And I can fully unmask with him, obviously. He's like the main person. So we came up with this concept of like, maybe I should start a whole series, like do a podcast, but also like reels about like things that I say when the camera isn't on, like when I'm not actually being filmed and observed, because I have so many of them is my point. Like I don't even know how to begin. But that's not how it is. I feel like I'm always saying that, because the thing is, like, people, the way you get good at marketing and messaging online or just experimenting is putting a really strong opinion out there a lot of the time in order to rock the boat. That's pretty much why they do it. But when I disagree with it, I think people aren't realizing that's what they're doing and they're believing this message, and then I'll get frustrated. But I think one of the main things that irritates me is that almost everybody thinks, that comes to me and that, exists in the world today, thinks that the main thing you need to do is grow a social media account. And I have proven myself, but also with my clients, that I have built a whole business that supports my whole family, and I haven't really gained that many followers, to be honest, like over that period of time, because it's never been a goal. But I think people focus on the wrong thing. We get so caught up with how other people perceive us. And that ties into social media, like the views, the vanity metrics and the follows, and virality, right? And it doesn't actually get you where you think it's going to get you. And so that, I think, is the main myth that I want to bust, is just stop focusing on the vanity metrics. It's great if they are building as well, but if the other side isn't building, it doesn't matter. If you have 100 followers, it doesn't matter, because some of them could be clients and you could be making money from them. So, and helping them, and feeling good and moving forwards. So that's my main myth, is don't believe that people are doing better than you just because they look good online. It's not necessarily the truth.
That's very, very true. And yes, they might have a massive following, but they may not have really great conversions, or they, their products may be quite misaligned.
Yep.
And
they probably pump out the content every day, but that doesn't mean that they're doing great in the back end. And that's where you need to be doing great, So
exactly.
That's my big myth.
It's a good one, because I think a lot of people, again, get really disheartened by having to start a social media account and then just feeling really disenfranchised by but more people in the marketing industry also say, really, your newsletter list is actually far more
100%.
important.
That was my second thought, was I'm more interested in how many people are actually in your audience than, and I say own your audience in my, I have an offering about it. It's very low ticket offering, but it's just like basically getting people to translate followers into actual audience that they own. And it's so true. Like you cannot convert as easily on Instagram, and there's just too much competition. Like there's just too much going on there for people to pay attention to you. So emails it's not dead. It's not dead. It's not going away. And that's where I'd be focusing, getting them to from social media. Yeah.
What you've shared with me has been a really, really helpful for my audience who may be starting out and learning about all of this. Yeah, incredibly helpful to all of us. And so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Is there anything that you feel like, you just want to maybe just a key takeaway that...
I think I think no one's coming to save you. I know that sounds really awful, but like that's a good thing, because when you realize that, and like as someone who is, you know, I've done this as a mum and a neurodivergent, and I think that it kind of adds to that message that no one else is going to make your life what you want it to be. And one day you'll realize that. And I think if you can tap into that, you can do something about it.
Like a bit of fire in your belly to
literally, like nothing matters. No one else matters. I think, you know, it doesn't matter what other people think of you, and, you know, you have to go through this period, which I did at the beginning, where I was like, feel like my friends and family don't really support me. And I mean, they did, but they didn't really to the degree
they
that you
weren't on the same path exactly with you. They were beside you perhaps, or maybe behind.
And they can't see what you can see, and they don't know what you have in you. And I think you have to just hyper focus on or just hone in on what you want to do, and just
use it as your talent. If that's what, you know, it lets you tap into that. If you are able to hyper focus into something and just, you know, have that in a good way, just be like, I'm not getting distracted by whatever else is going on, and I'm just really honing in on my skills, what I'm passionate about.
And like, use the time you have. Like, people will always say to me, oh, I don't have time. It's just like the typical excuse for everything in life. We all are strapped for time. I think if you really want to do something and change something, you will find the time. You will get up an hour earlier. You will stay up an hour later and do a bit of work. Whatever it needs to be, if you want it to happen, it can happen. You need to actually do it yourself. Yeah. Well, annoyingly, yes, but it won't always be that way if you stick it out. Yeah. And if you're willing to like do what it takes in the beginning, I think, it's worth it in the end. It's my pleasure. There's lots of ways people can benefit from me without having to invest a lot of money. I'm Sun Mother Amy, so literally Sun, S-U-N, Mother, Amy, A-M-Y. On Instagram is where I mainly show up on socials. If you head to sunmotheramy.com, it will take you to a page that has a bunch of my offerings.
Thank you so much for coming on, and
my absolute pleasure.
I hope you have a wonderful day. It's
you
nice
too.
and sunny outside.
Yeah.
Here anyway. I hope it is there too.
It is. Yeah, it's really sunny. I'm like, oh, it's tempting.
It's sun outside in the sun, and just So I love the name. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, and I'll connect soon again with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
My pleasure.